Hello and welcome to assetyogi.com. This is Mukul and in this video I will explain about Certificate of Occupancy. What it is, why is it required and how is it different from Completion Certificate. I will also share few additional tips on taking possession of your property the right way. So make sure to watch till the end and not miss on these useful tips. Let's get to the topic now. Have you recently invested in an under construction property, or are you planning to invest in a new property, or for that matter even in a ready to move property? You must know what is occupancy certificate and what is a completion certificate. A lot of people confuse between occupancy certificate and completion certificate. However, both are absolutely different, and in this video I will explain how these certificates are different and why are they important. Now, to understand what is a completion certificate and what is an occupancy certificate, we must first understand the process of development and construction of a building. When any builder plans to construct a building, whether commercial, residential, institutional or any other type of building or property complex, it must follow the building bylaws and master plan of the city and any other development code or any other regulations related to fire and safety rules, environmental regulations which are in force in that state. The builder has to comply with all these regulations. So every builder before starting construction has to take approval from the local competent authority, and the local authority can be municipal corporation, development authority or town and planning department depending on the jurisdiction, and it can differ from state to state. So as a first step in the development process, the builder is going to submit the building plans to the development authority, and these plans would include the structural plan, service plans for water supply, sewage disposal, electrical supply, gas supply, fire and safety plans, and for high-rise buildings, disaster management plan also has to be submitted. Then after studying the building plans and other documents submitted by the builder, the authority issues a building permit to the builder, and generally this permit is valid for 3 to 5 years depending on the state. So in some states the permit can be given for 3 years, and in some other states it can be for 4 or 5 years. So the builder has to complete the construction within this time frame. Suppose the permit is valid for 4 years, the builder has to complete the construction within that time frame. Then once the construction is completed within the time frame, the builder applies for the completion certificate to the authority. Now the authority, before issuing the completion certificate, will ensure that the building is constructed as per the approved plans and it abides by all the building bylaws and other regulations related to fire and safety, environmental regulations and all other regulations that apply to the building. In some cases, provisional certificate can also be awarded to the builder provided the building is substantially completed and there are few pending works like construction of clubhouse or some finishing works like painting, etc. And this provisional certificate will be valid for only 6 months, and within these 6 months the builder has to complete the construction in all respects and again apply for the completion certificate, and the authority, after ensuring that the building complies with all the regulations, then the completion certificate will be issued. So basically completion certificate is issued to the builder only after the authority ensures that the building is constructed as per the approved plans, it doesn't violate any building regulations like coverage regulations, floor area ratio, height restrictions, setbacks that the builder has to leave. So once the authority ensures that the building complies with all these regulations, then only the completion certificate is issued to the builder. Then after getting the completion certificate, the builder has to apply for the occupancy certificate, and he has to submit all these extra plans and drawings, and he has to take NOCs from various departments. So he is going to submit the as-built plans and drawings, and he has to also submit the completion certificate along with the documents. Then he has to take no objection certificates from fire department, airport authority of India if it is applicable, then pollution control board, then electrical inspectorate. Then the building has to comply with all the green building norms which are applicable, for example rainwater harvesting, wastewater management, and then solar installation if that is applicable. And then the builder also has to submit all the labor cess receipts which he has paid, and the builder also has to submit the tax assessment documents and tax paid receipts. Then after studying and verifying all these documents submitted by the builder, the authority will make a physical inspection of the site, and check whether the building is constructed as per the approved plans and whether they have violated any regulations related to fire or any airport regulations, pollution control board, green building norms. So after it ensures that all these norms are not violated, then only they will issue the occupancy certificate. So the authority has to ensure that the building is absolutely safe for occupation. Now in case of completion certificate, the certificate is generally issued to the developer by the authority, whereas the occupancy certificate can either be issued to the developer or to the owners directly by the authority, because in some cases the builder offers the possession to the people and people start occupying their properties. So in those cases the authority can issue the occupancy certificate directly to the owners or the Residents Welfare Association. So to summarize, occupancy certificate will be issued to the developer or the owners only after the authority ensures that the building is constructed as per the approved building plans and it complies with all the building bylaws and other regulations. So basically it will comply with all the requirements of the completion certificate. Now for occupancy certificate, in addition to the requirements of the completion certificate, it also has to ensure that the building is ready with basic amenities like power, water, sewage, gas, etc. And the building also complies with all the fire and safety norms, environmental norms, Airport Authority of India norms, and that the builder has paid all the duties and taxes. So that is why all these documents are required to be submitted by the builder. Now sometimes what happens is the builder applies for the occupancy certificate, but let's say he doesn't comply with all the regulations, or let's say there are certain shortcomings in the construction. In that case, the authority issues an intimation of disapproval and it asks the builder to rectify the mistakes or the corrections that have to be made in the construction. Then after making the corrections, the builder or owners can again apply for the occupancy certificate, and the authority, after ensuring that the building complies with all the regulations, will issue the occupancy certificate. I hope you got an idea what is occupancy certificate and how it differs from completion certificate. Now let's see why occupancy certificate is so important and why you should stress on getting this certificate before you take the possession. First of all, you can take safe and legal possession of your property only after you get your occupancy certificate. Otherwise, your property will be called as unauthorized. And to avoid legal troubles later, you must ensure that the builder gets the occupancy certificate before you take the possession of your property. Then occupancy certificate is also sometimes required to get your electricity and water connections in some states. Then occupancy certificate is absolutely must to get insurance for your property and for your building, because if you don't have occupancy certificate from the authority, the insurance companies will consider your building as unsafe to live and you cannot apply for insurance. Occupancy certificate is also required to avoid eviction from your own property, because without the occupancy certificate it is not considered a legal possession, we have discussed just now. So you must ensure that you get the occupancy certificate, otherwise the authority can actually ask you to vacate the property, and you will also find it very difficult to sell this property without an occupancy certificate, because the buyers nowadays are also stressing on seeing the occupancy certificate, because nobody wants all these troubles later on. So in an ideal situation, you must ensure that the builder gets the occupancy certificate before you even take the possession, so that you can avoid all these hassles. Now suppose you have already taken possession of your property, but your building doesn't have an occupancy certificate. What can you do in that case? In such a case, you can form owners group or residents welfare association, because it is always better to represent in a group rather than as an individual. Then as a group or association, you can approach the local authority and ask them what are the issues, why occupancy certificate is not issued to your building, and you can ask the local authority if there are any shortcomings or any violations of any regulations. Then once you know the exact issue, you can take permission from the local authority to make any corrections, whatever is required. Suppose the boundary has a problem, or whether any construction rule is not followed, and if it can be corrected, you should always offer to make corrections to the local authority, and if it can be done easily,
then you can get it done and get your certificate. And sometimes the correction cannot be done, however you can pay the penalty. If it's a small penalty, you can always pay that penalty and get the occupancy certificate rather than having legal troubles later on. Although as a property owner you will have to take all these troubles, but you can always approach the courts also and claim damages from the developer, because ultimately it was the responsibility of the developer only to get the occupancy certificate. Now suppose you have not yet taken the possession of your property. Let's see what is the ideal process of taking the possession. So when a builder approaches you with the offer of possession and he asks you to make the final payment, you should first ask him whether he has received the completion certificate, because generally in a construction linked plan you are supposed to make the final payment only after you get the possession. Then before you take the keys of your apartment or get your sale deed registered, you should also ensure that the occupancy certificate is received by the builder, because just now we have seen what kind of legal troubles we can get into if we don't have these completion and occupancy certificates. Only after you ensure that completion certificate and occupancy certificate are received by the builder, then only you should get your sale deed registered and take your possession. And only after that you should sign the possession letter or any kind of no objection certificate for the builder, and then only you should take the keys of your apartment or your property. So that is the ideal way of taking possession. So I cannot stress more on the importance of completion certificate and occupancy certificate. You must get these certificates before taking the possession of your property. I hope that after watching this video you now have a fair idea as to what is an occupancy certificate, how it differs from completion certificate, why these are certificates are so important before you take possession of your property, and what can you do when you have not received occupancy certificate and you have already taken possession of the property.
Thank you for watching this video. We have a lot of exciting and informative videos coming up. So give this video a thumbs up if you want those videos to show up faster. To get our latest real estate and investing tips, please subscribe to this channel. Don't wait, please subscribe. You really don't want to miss out on our latest investing tips that we share every week. See you guys in next video.